The playoffs inch closer for drivers in the Area Truck Series. It's just 2 races remaining in the regular season before we eliminate most of the field and head into the playoffs. 5 rounds at Bristol, Michigan, Iowa, Kansas, and Atlanta to finish off the season. Tonight, we head to the Rockingham Speedway before the end of the regular season at Talladega, and that cut line is looking ever more in danger for some of the drivers that are just above it and just below it. But tonight, it is race number 11 of the season, and we're here at this tricky, challenging, historic NASCAR circuit for another round of racing in the trucks. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn. Connor, welcome aboard. Tonight, we go racing at the Rock. This is a track that I think still holds, or should be holding a place on the NASCAR calendar. It's got a lot of history. It's unique, and it has a lot of tricks up its sleeve, I'm sure, for some of the drivers tonight.
Yeah, and the trick is going to be the different line that we're going to see tonight. That high line should really come into play, and it was a staple of the NASCAR schedules for so many years. Hopefully it's going to be a staple again, because the lower series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series in real life is going there next season. So maybe we get a little bit of a taste of what we're going to see in just a few months' time in April of 2025. So this should be a really fun track. iRacing has updated this since we last went here in Season 3, where Jordan Hurley went the victory lane. It's going to to be kind of a high line track, but we don't know what we're going to see in qualifying, whether we see the high line in play or we see everyone on the bottom. So it should be interesting to observe what happens.
The qualifying is underway, and here comes Cameron Hearn, the number 67, one of the drivers to take to the course sort of early on here in this 5-minute qualifying session. And up kind of middle groove there in 1 and 2. Talk to me about the multi-groove nature of this racetrack, Connor. It seems like a track that at times wants to be a bottom-feeding track, but we've seen all sorts of things in SimTV history here. Even back when 3 Wide ran this racetrack a number of years ago, it's always had sort of a unique characteristic.
I think you've always been able to use the high line. I just don't think until about a few months to maybe a year ago, I don't remember it being the dominant line. But I think when everyone's pushing at the very end, I think the high line will be the dominant line, and then passing is going to be very, very tough. I think you still want to be on the bottom line for tire saving. I did a Gen 4 race here last week, and it seemed like the bottom was still better for tire conservation. But when you needed to go 110% near the end of a race, you're right against the wall. The Kyle Larson line, just like Jake Matheson was doing right there. So I think we're going to see a mix of things here, as that's inbound. You can do that on your Q lap. He's going to be pretty far up there, I would say. Is actually no, only 6th, and clearly not happy about it. John Hall just won provisional roll by a 10th. Seth Knoll is on his lap. He's going to go to the way high line. So already we're seeing drivers not going to that bottom line for speed. Everyone's kind of entering high and exiting low to avoid Thunder Alley's outside wall down the back straightaway.
Yeah, up against that outside line there for Seth Knoll in the number 1, and up onto the front straightaway here, and what he's got, 24.174. That's good enough for 5th. Drop him there now.
Hall, Beckner, Springer, Patrick Moose, Seth Knoll, the top 5. Mason Kane's going to try to get himself up there. As you can see, it is hard to hold that line, as I think he actually had to get out of the gas. Not very much speed out of turn number 2, but it is very easy to go up too far towards that outside wall in the middle of 1 and 2. 3 and 4, I think your worry is exit of 4 as he slides to the start-finish line. Jake Nichols had just got 2nd on the board. I don't think that's going to be pretty far up there. Actually, it's 8th, so he slid hard, but that was a solid lap.
Gary Waterworth in the number 2 is on his lap, so is Brad Slaughter Jr. Let's see what Gary's got. 25.025. He won't like that, as Brad Slaughter Jr. will grab a 24.262. That'll be mid-pack of those that have put a lap in so far.
Shane Wolf has a slide off of 4. Pacey Wygen, who's right in the playoff picture with just 1 race to go after tonight. So it looks like 2 races to go, including tonight. He's right in the middle of it, and he could use a pretty good qualifying effort. And a Sogak's just inside the top 10. Can Wygen get in there? Not quite. 14th for the double zero.
Sebastian Marin, I don't think it's going to get a qualifying time. Marked a start lap, but might have gotten into the wall or spun or something, because he is showing 0 miles an hour. Means he will not get qualifying lap. James Shanewolf is also on 1. Let's see what we got here.
Slid out of 4, I think, coming to the green, so he still has this lap to go. As Swan will come across the line. He's going to go 24.291, so a lot of 24.2s. He goes 18th on the board. James Shane Wolf is coming to the line. 24.118 goes to 3rd. That's a great lap for him. He might be a player tonight for sure, with 40 seconds to go. Trying to look at the finishing results from the last time he went to Rockingham. I don't believe he was in the field, so we'll see what he can do tonight, as that's actually a big deal for Marin not to get his qualifying time down, because that battle for the regular season championship is very tight. He was only about 4 points behind Jake Nichols, so he needs to get through the field fast.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure, but let's see what he's got here in about 15 seconds time, plus a little warm-up period here. A cat is in the way of my stream deck, unfortunately, so this is going really good. There's a look at your top 10. John Hall sits on pole for this one. Checkered is out in qualifying, and Connor, in a few minutes' time, we're going to go racing here from Rockingham. But race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. As a subscriber, you'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in the chat and earn double channel points that you can use to redeem for free merchandise for just $5 a month. Join today. And, of course, Central Mobile Homes is our starting grid sponsor. If you're looking for a smaller large home, a new shed, or a Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 28 years with a plethora of small and large home floor plans, shed designs, and Triple Crown trailers. Available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomesinc.com to get started today. Talk to me about strategy tonight, Connor. 140 laps around here. Not going to be a super long race, but we could get some yellows. Your thoughts?
This is a track that breeds cautions. You get one, you're going to get a lot more. I remember the last race I think I called here was an area, it was the Pro Series, and we had a long green run, but it was one self-spin that pretty much changed the game. We saw multiple flips in that race, for crying out loud. It is going to be a lot of calamity if we can't get spread out and get some green flag running. You're going to see, I think, a lot of attrition potentially tonight, but this track does have potential to have long green flag runs. Back to the ORL and VRL days when we went here, even Fuel might have gone here. Long green flag runs can be a staple of this racetrack, so you almost got to hope for one or the other, play your strategy for one or the other, and if you get it right, it might win you the race. If you don't get it right, you might be laps down, you might be in a crash near the back, so it's going to be interesting what drivers think they're going to see tonight.
Well, they're going to relish this warm-up time. This is not one of the racetracks, Connor, that I think you end up at by accident a lot. I mean, this is not a place that you go to practice. This is one of the more unique tracks on the calendar, and for many drivers, this might be the only time they drive it this quarter, so you've got to be up on your skills. Use the time to practice.
But this is a driver's track, I think. It's a very fast track, but the corners are so tight. If you get it right, you feel it's one of the best feelings in oval racing when you get one of these corners just right, especially the exit of turn number 2. So this one should be fun. You should see, once again, the best drivers come to the front, and the drivers who don't have a grip of this track, they will probably struggle, as we'll see what we get tonight. I'm pretty excited to see what type of racing we get. Could be multi-crewed, might be top dominant. We'll just have to wait and see. It'd be especially funny if we ran the road course here, but I don't think that's a smart idea.
You know, the funny thing is I've seen this road course layout run, not personally, but I've seen videos of it. It is a wonky one. It's not one of the tracks that you want to be your oval configuration for sure, but I think also just staying out of trouble here. I mean, this is a racetrack that, yeah, it's, you know, a mile long, but it almost feels like Bristol in a way, where if a crash happens, you come up on it so quickly in a 24-second lap that you got to be on your toes for things that happen up the road even.
There's no room on the back straightaway. When there's a wreck off of turn number 2, the track is going to get blocked very quickly. And like you said, if it happens entering the corner like we've seen, or just in the corner in general, it's going to come down the track. So if you're turning down the track trying to miss it, you're probably going to be in it. So it's starting at the front, I think, is a huge privilege here tonight for the drivers who got good times in. There weren't actually that many people, I believe, that didn't put times down. I think everyone pretty much attempted one, except some EOL drivers, and obviously Sebastian Marin and Michael Venable, I believe, messed up their queue time. So there are 2 big hitters at the back who might be in for a rough time. They got to get through the field fast, but they cannot get involved in incidents. It is going to be very tough to get through the field without contact.
Well, 36 trucks are on the grid for this one. Let's roll through our Central Mobile Homes starting lineup and kick things off with the front row. It's John Hall in the number 03 Ford F-150. Jake Nichols in the 73 starts alongside him in second.
Then how about third position? James Shainwolf, a very good qualifying effort. He's down in the points, not full time, but he could be a threat tonight to spoil the party for guys like Travis Beckner. He starts 4th.
5th place, Ricky Springer, number 51. Patrick Moose in the 38 will start alongside in 6th place.
7th position goes to the one of Seth Knoll. 5 wins in Cup, no truck wins yet, but he'll try to get one tonight. Danny Ware starts in the 8th position.
And starting 9th place, row 5, it's Mason Kane in the number 31 machine. Bryce Senesac starts 10th in the 09.
11th position, that goes to the 88 of Justin Sogak, who just missed out on top 10 starting position. David Weishart, who was a big threat last night at Indy, but to complete a different track tonight, though. He'll start 12th.
13th place, Jeremy Brown in the 87. Reese Schaefer in the 07 starts 14th.
15th position goes to the 52 of Jake Matheson, further back than I think he was anticipating, and then alongside him will be the 21 of Eric Wineland.
And in 17th place, Pacey Wygen in the 00. 18th place sits the number 81 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro of Brad Slaughter Jr.
Then rounding out, right just outside just in the back half of the field, I should say, Ryan Swan starts in 19th. Joshua Balliette starts in 20th.
21st place, Devin Johnson in the number 90. Cameron Hearn 22nd in the 67 machine.
23rd place to 45, another Toyota Tundra of Chris Seidenfaden, and then the 24th position, the 5 of Garrett Grant.
And in 25th position, Ed Scherer Jr. had a good run of the Cup Series the other night, trying to carry that momentum here to the Rock. Casey Licata starts 26th in the 50.
Same state, at least, as I believe Scherer will have a drive-through, so you'll have to recover from that tonight. Daniel Day starts in the 27th position, alongside Vincent Cortez, who's part-time this season. He'll start back in 28th.
29th place, Tyler Hallman in the 62. Rafe Slate starts 30th in the number 8.
31st goes to the 2 of Gary Waterworth and another Chevy Silverado, and another Silverado, a surprising no Q effort with a mistake on his Q time. Sebastian Marin starts back in 32nd.
33rd place. That's a tough night for him. Michael Venable in the number 95, and then Jeremy Miller starts 34th in the number 30 machine.
35th goes to the 41 of Lucas Strayer. Then the final starter tonight will be Sean Peachin, who had an EOL, and he's back there anyway, so he won't even need to get an EOL penalty. That's all 36 trucks tonight.
Is your 36 truck field. Another look at the weather information. About 80-degree air temp and 108-degree track temperature. About 50% humidity, just a light breeze out of the east-northeast. Picks to win. Connor, who you got?
Gonna be tough. Usually Marin's a solid pick, but back from 32nd, I'm just not quite sure he can do that. This is a track that I think, with the high line in order, is going to really help drivers who are aggressive. So I'm gonna go Travis Beckner.
Let's see. Looking down the list here. Take the 83. I think Shane Wolf's qualifying effort turns into a good race effort. Like the pace that he's had, I think he can parlay it to a win tonight. We've seen flashes of speed out of that 83. We'll see what he's got.
He's had speed in a decent amount of races, but no finishes. He's gotten like no finishes. He has no finishes inside the top 30 in his 7 starts, but I don't think he's qualified this well at all this season. As a matter of fact, he hasn't. His best starting position before tonight was 19th at Sonoma, and his best at a road course was 26th at Dover and Darlington, so a huge opportunity for him.
So, fields doubled up here on the back straightaway. This race will take us under an hour, believe it or not. 56 minutes from flag to flag if it goes green. The question is, will it? Unlikely. We'll see. 2 races left in the regular season for the Area Truck Series. It is go time for those below the cut line. Pacey, Wygant, Miller, Springer, Grant, Eidson. They really need to have some good nights tonight so they're not on the deathbed in Talladega. Time to go racing at the Rock. Truck Series action to the Area Series underway. Big slip from Jake Nichols at the 73, and we're racing. Look at the 28 already exploring the high lane there at the exit of lap number 1. Get into a rhythm here, click off laps. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm curious to see how this track progresses as well, where it's going to rubber in, where the lines might shift. This is a place I haven't seen since the multi-groove adjustments a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, and it's going to be different from what we saw at seasons past. Oh, we got a car. That was Devin Johnson down to the bottom, but he saved it. It is going to be interesting how this plays out. I think you want to be on the bottom early to save those tires, and then later in your green flag run, go back to the top for speed purposes. But it seems like most people are doing that, as most people are actually kind of running the middle of the track for the most part, as the 17 serves as drive-through, goes down a lap. But most people are on the bottom.
On board with Ricky Springer, chasing the leaders there. Hall on the bottom, Beckner up top, and then Moose and Nichols ahead of him.
Nichols not really having pace right now, maybe trying to save for a long run, but not really. You don't really want to lose track position at a track like this. It's going to be even harder to get those spots back later in the race, as Hall and Beckner pulling away from this battle for third, as Patrick Moose needs something to go his way tonight. Jake Nichols just trying to maybe get closer to clinching that regular season championship.
98, looking pretty good on the bottom here. Shane Wolf going backwards here in the initial stages, but track that I think we could see chew up a lot of tire, so we'll see how the race progresses with those that take some time.
Really tough to get in a groove here because it is nonstop fast action. You don't get a break. Someone just hit the wall down the backstretch. I think it was Jeremy Brown, and this is what the issue is when things get stacked up, as Travis Beckner got the race lead away from John Hall. When someone gets into the wall, has some sort of issue, it checks everyone up. You do not get a break here like you do at tracks, maybe like New Hampshire with long straightaways, or Gateway, for example. You're working the wheel all the time, more like a track like Bristol, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, Beckner took the lead away. John Hall took a swipe to try to grab it back, but did not. And everyone now behind him shifting to the bottom of the racetrack, at least a few spots back. You mentioned the stack up behind Jeremy Brown. This is what it looks like back there right now.
Yeah, Brown's back there. I think that might be the 32 of Marin going around the outside. It is different paint scheme for him this week. Got Grant Miller back there, still a mess back there, while further ahead it's mostly single file as Beckner's still running the top. Hall, Moose, and Nichols all on the bottom line, as pretty much everyone in the top 20 running that bottom line, but everyone back here having to search for more grip, trying to get passes, trying to get through the field quicker.
Brown got into the wall again, just midway down the straightaway, just a slight scrape. It slowed him up, didn't cause a stack up, but it's just the slightest bit of momentum loss here at a track that has so much banking. You can really sense it when things don't go the way that you're hoping.
Momentum is going to be a big deal down that back straightaway. If you have to lift hard out of turn 2 or even turn 4, you're going to lose 2, 3, maybe 4 positions. So you cannot really afford to get too tight or too loose out of those corners. You got to manage your stuff a lot better than maybe in other races like Darlington, where the tires will get chewed up. It will be, I think, high tire wear tonight, but we'll just have to see once we get a run in here, as now Hall goes to the top, as more battling at the back. Eric Wineland in the middle of it on the bottom, Daniel Day on the top side.
A little bit of a scrum back here for just inside the top 20. This is really where the meat of the battle is right now. Brad Slaughter Jr. in the 81 to the bottom, the 52 of Matheson up high.
And that's Matheson making the pass on Slaughter, so he's up to 13th position after starting 15th, so not much progress yet, but he's been planted to that bottom line as Balliet going to try to defend from the 81, or actually just get around the 81, as Slaughter's starting to slip a little bit here.
Sort that out now for 14th and 15th place. Beckner leads by 6/10 of a second. And honestly, he's looked really consistent and smooth since he took the lead of this race. And I don't think he's planning on looking back. His season so far, no wins in the Truck Series just yet. But it's really been feast or famine. He's had a couple of nice results, but otherwise it's been pretty disastrous so far, I have to say, at least on the scale of Travis Beckner seasons, where they usually are pretty good.
And no wins in any other series besides the Pro Series, and we know the Pro Series has been hit or miss for him, but no wins, but a consistent season with just a good result should get him into the playoff fight on points tonight, depending on a new winner. So he's been in contention for wins, but it hasn't been a feast or famine for the 28. It's just not able to close out races, but he's been getting finishes.
On the bottom here, Jake Nichols, James Shanewolf on the high side. He looks like he's starting to build some momentum back forward. We mentioned qualified 3rd, dropped back to 7th, and looks like he's now building some momentum to move back forward.
And Nichols just kind of letting drivers go to his outside. He's pretty committed to the bottom, as Hall and Ricky Springer, they've moved up to the high side to kind of mimic what Beckner's doing, while there's still some others in the top 10 running the bottom, like Jake Nichols and Danny Ware doing the same thing, and pretty much a lot of people still running the bottom as well. Seth Nolan, 11th, is running the top, trying to get around Bryce Senesac in the background. Shane will back up to the top 5.
Different lanes getting chosen all over the racetrack. Look at this little battle starting to heat back up again. There's the 2 chasing the 7, and then the lime green trucks, Anasogak and Senesac there.
Balliet got around the 81, then he got the 52, so Balliet's got a lot of speed right now on the short run, as everyone's trying to get to a number, at least to halfway. This should be a one-stop race. The fuel can make it, but it's all a wonder of if the tires can make it. So you're might have to nurse that right front and the right rear just to get to your window to make it on one stop, so that could be interesting to note.
Yeah, about half a second of fall off, maybe a little more now, for most of the drivers in this field, depending on how hard they pushed in the early stages of this one. Everyone's kind of gotten into a groove now, though, and I don't want to jinx things too early, Connor, but typically when you get the first 20, 30 laps green, you tend to see it kind of extend that way. Beckner's made a few mistakes, though, and it's going to bring John Hall right back into the mix, and it doesn't look like he's going to sit back here for long.
Yeah, not sure what exactly happened. I think Beckner tried the bottom 1 and 2, didn't work, and then I think he actually got the wall last time in 3 and 4, lost a bunch more time. But you see Beckner, I think, might be starting to think that he needs to get back to the bottom for tire conservation. He's moved back down there, but not surprising to me, he's going to go back to the top side, make John Hall go the short way around, but it is speed-wise, I think, the harder way around. He hit the wall again. That was a pretty big hit, but still no blemishes on the right side of that Hendry County Motorsports Park Silverado. But this is where it's going to be trouble. He's going to to let Hall get that run off the high side while he's trying to roll the bottom as fast as possible. I don't think the run's as good out of 2, but out of 4, it's visible.
Big lunge from the 0-3. Huge send into turn 3. Trying to capitalize on Beckner's mistakes. They're going to come off turn 4 side by side.
I'd see a slide job here, just dive in harder than a 28, but no, it's actually the opposite. Beckner fired it in there. He's into the wall again. A little bit of wall bouncing. It is like Bristol in that sense, but it did work just enough to get back to John Hall's right rear.
Now we'll see that, well, I thought he said it again, but it was really just the last time around that he just fired it off in there, hoping it would stick, and now still can't clear Beckner. What a battle up front here.
It just shows how hard it is going to be to make these passes work. I think he is a touch faster as Beckner is hitting the wall again, so I wonder if you can wall bounce or not. He almost got squeezed in the wall by John Hall there. Really tight action just 20 laps in. And now Hall, this time he's going to dive in and clear the 28. I don't know, Beckner might try the crossover. I don't know if he has enough speed to get back by him, but that's what I was talking about, that run out of 4, and he just gave it to the 0-3 that time.
Yeah, he thought about it, but then by the time they got halfway down the straight, well, he's going to try it again in 1 and 2 here. Now Hall goes to the top. You can really just explore this place, can't you? This is fun. Ricky Springer, 51, trying to battle the 73 of Nichols here, and Shane Wolf watching from behind. Shane Wolf has just been rubber banding around 5th to 7th all day. He hasn't really settled in yet.
Not quite yet. Nichols got back by him, and now the 73 is working on the 51. Patrick Moose has pulled away from that battle, and he's actually a little faster than the 28 at this point in the race.
Nichols again continuing his lunge down here into 3 and 4. Look, they're kind of offset like fighter jets there. Kane in the middle, Ware on the bottom. It's fun to watch around here.
All in formation right now at this point as Beckner's still running that bottom line. Not really battling John Hall, but just taking a clean air wherever you can get it, as Springer got tight to the wall that time. Nichols struggling to make that pass around the bottom of the racetrack as he's going to kind of follow the 51, poke the left front headlight out maybe to get some clean air on the nose, as almost look, you can see 3 lanes working at least through 3 and 4, but they are all stacked up behind Springer. As Jake Matheson's starting to maybe go back a little bit further backwards. Slaughter got back by him for 13th position, not too far behind. Sebastian Marin is working on Pacey Wygen for the 16th position. He started back at 32nd. He's already up into the top 20.
And Marin has just been phenomenal. 5 wins on the season in this 32 truck. And really no one else has even come close, but just not a place that he wanted to start tonight. You just want to be doing layups at this point in the season. You don't want to have to work this hard when you've got a big seed advantage come playoff time.
Nichols, I think he's going to try to slide up in front of Springer, and I think he's going to be able to. Mason Kane kind of slow into 3. I think he just gave it to the 98. But Nichols just dove in a little harder, and Springer gave him the position.
Oh, look at Matheson on Brad Slaughter Jr. He called his bluff and drove off into 1.
I think 52 ran the outside, and I don't think Slaughter was quite ready for that battle. I don't think he wanted to battle that closely with the 52 entering turn number 1. So they're kind of trading positions back and forth here. Now Marin's right up on the back of this battle. Daniel Day just ahead of him to at least same sponsor, I assume, same team for those drivers. Venables also climbed through the field. He's up to 18th, battling Bryce Senesac, the lime green car on the bottom, and the blue and orange truck on the top side by side. That is not Eric Wineland, Cameron Hearn in the battle.
Yeah, similar looking the brandless trucks. You see Wineland in the background in the Ford. Rafe Slate, the only truck that's out. I don't even think he took the green, or if he did, he came in immediately. Ed Scherer Jr.'s a lap down after serving a drive-through. Everyone else is on the lead lap and running at the moment. Sogat, Kane, and Valiette battling for 10th place, rather.
And they're starting to see, at this point in the run, 25, 30 laps in, most people starting to go towards the top line only. Shane Wolf and Weishart on the bottom because they're battling for position, but pretty much everyone else, Shane Wolf sideways off of 4. Weishart as well, they went to the apron, but you can see almost everyone inching up the track just a little bit.
Yeah, we were wondering what that transition would look like, and we're starting to see it. And it took John Hall a couple tries to make a pass on the bottom earlier, but he has started to check back out now, 0.6 of a second, which is as large as Beckner's lead got.
Seth Knoll inside, just got a better run than the 83. Shane Wolf looks like he's struggling with the rears. I would have thought with the high speeds in the corner, maybe the right front would be a trouble spot, a trouble tire for these drivers, but it seems like he's struggling with rear grip at this point. He's starting to fade back again, as it really has been rubber banding. You can see how sideways the rear of the 83 got that time. He's about to fall back to 8th, because here comes Weishart.
Seth Knoll, Ricky Springer here for P5. This is a little door-to-door battle here.
While the 83 is going backwards, the one's kind of going forwards here as he's going to slide up in front of Springer. Springer got the wall as well there, so the one truck, this is more speed than we've usually seen from him in the truck series at least. You know, obviously talked about his cup wins, but not as much luck in the truck series, but looks fast right now. It's mostly single file at this point in the race.
Mason Kane, Brad Slaughter Jr. side by side again in the 31 and 81, and Sebastian Marin's going to have all that out the windshield.
Mason Kane almost certainly will need points plus help, or wins plus help, to get into the playoffs at this point, as he's now fighting that 32, fishtailing it. He hit the wall there. As I am actually really shocked that the rear grip is starting to become an issue, and for drivers, as long as everyone's trying the one stop, you're not even halfway on that run to get the halfway. So if you're in trouble now, you're going to be dying at lap 70.
Yeah, it's a long way to go. I mean, this race is short, but a lot of laps for a pretty short race because the laps are so quick. And a Sogak riding the rim. He got up on the bucket there, didn't he? Right on the outside lane and off into 3.
Oh, spin back at turn number 3. It's Daniel Day. He actually saved that truck somehow. We stay green. Watch the rejoin. I don't know how he saved that.
Let's have a look on the inside of Mason Kane. Kane was loose. Kind of put him offline, and then he just spun the tires on the straightaway. Got some help from Venable. Great save by the 61. Great driving there.
And great save for Daniel Day, as he really doesn't have damage, but unfortunately, actually, the big loser in that was Venable. A lot of front-end damage for him as he's running into 16th position, so that's something he's going to have to manage for the rest of this race, probably, as, oh, another slide. That's Danny Ware saving it. So Weishart's the next driver trying to get by Ricky Springer.
Oh, boy, little shifts and shuffles here. Valiette and Matheson for 10th spot. And Beckner's reeling Hall back in. It's just amazing how much of a rubber band that lead has been so far. Go out there, run your tires off, fall back. Next guy will pass, run his tires off, so on and so forth.
That is how it's kind of been at the front. Beckner got reeled in. Hall took the lead. Beckner is closed back in the John Hall. It's only about 4 or 5 tenths of a second. Even Patrick Moose isn't too far off him, but just getting clean air or cleaner air for those top 5 or so, they've really pulled away from the rest of these battles. Spent a lot of time separating Seth Knoll from Ricky Springer at this point. You can see it. That's Springer at the front. Weishart on the red truck trying to get by him. Everyone else in line, in a Sogak, I think, slid out of turn number 4, but another save.
Yeah, it's getting a little sendier now. They trust their trucks a little bit, but the tires don't have the grip to do what they're asking them to do. It's been working over Shane Wolf here, who's just now slowly started to drop out of the positions he was sort of trapped in before. They're right up against that outside wall. Matheson turns down off the fence, build that run out of 4.
I bet no one was expecting a Darlington reboot at a smaller track, but it's kind of what it's looking like right now. Everyone's getting as close to that wall as possible, at least in 3, really both ends of the track. Once again, Shane Wolf didn't even hit it that time. That's just how close you're getting to it as Matheson completes that pass for the 8th position. So Shane Wolf back to 9th. Balliet and Marin battling for 10th as that 32 is charging through this field.
And Marin, just unbelievable drive. This is why he's been so dominant in the championship this season. But it's not infallible. You get to the playoffs, he's got to back it up. There's some other trucks that have shown some real pace this season. Don Hall in particular, Jake Nichols, of course. But 32nd to 9th in 40 laps is impressive in its own right. Patrick Moose has gone by Beckner here for 2nd place.
It looked like Beckner just let him by, maybe going to try to hope the 38 can chase the 0-3 down, then bring Beckner back into this fight. Weishart by the 51 as now Ricky Springer's starting to drop a little bit. Jake Matheson has climbed through the field late here. Now he's looking for that 8th position. Marin's up to that 9th position by Shane Wolf, who's really starting to fade here 40 laps into this run.
Get worried when you see people scraping the wall. That was how we had our big slide earlier.
Oh boy.
Slaughter Jr. chasing it down the road.
And he had to avoid Danny Ware, who was in the wall. If you hit that wall, it's really tough because of how banked that backstretch is. If you tap that wall, try to turn your wheel off of it, you're going to hit the guy on your inside or just spin yourself. So you really got to be careful to just not scrape it at all.
Joshua Balliet in the 7. He's going to try to slip up ahead of the 88, and he will do just that. Matheson now working the high side, right behind David Weishart. He would like to poke up to the outside of the 33, and Merritt would like the bottom.
That was impressive. I mean, he did not have much clean air on the nose, but he still got to the right rear of Weishart just as quickly as the 33 got to 6th after passing the 51. He's probably going to lose 2 more positions here from the 52 and 32.
Now down the back straightaway here.
Whoa! I thought there was contact back there really close with Ware, Slaughter, and Anna Sogak there.
Out of 4. Everyone looking pretty single file now, at least in this front group, but there still is plenty of battling happening deeper in the field. You've got Wineland in the 21. He's up to 22nd. He's going to drop back a ways and is working his way back forward. Miller up against the outside wall, goes for a bobble, gathers it up.
Climb through the field a little bit, up 12 positions once Wineland gets by. Some other movers, not as much as the 32. Waterworth's up 6 spots. Sean Peachin's up 9. Some good drivers who have fallen are Ryan Swan, Reese Schaefer, Eric Wineland, like you mentioned. But no one's a bigger mover than that 32 right now. He's up 25 positions, 18 positions for the 95, even with front end damage. So it's still hard to pass, but we've seen a lot of drivers get through the field.
Oh, look at Venable on the bottom. Big slide. He's going to walk up the hill here. And the 67 of Hearn in that black truck is going to throttle up and try to take it away. And that's why you just can't make a mistake. It's like Martinsville with banking. As soon as you slip up, there are 5, 6 trucks that are going to pounce on you trying to grab that spot.
And sometimes you can't help it because he really only slid out of line there because the 98 had another moment. So it can cost you big time, even if it's not your own mistake. And there's nothing you can really do about it. As pit stops, John Hall is in. I believe not Patrick Moose, just John Hall came in.
Yeah, this is interesting. Lap 47, we thought they would try to shoot for halfway and grab lap 70 as their pit time, but is he just trying to run all the way out 90 laps to the end? You can't do that, can you?
No, I don't think you can do that. I think this is a 2-stop strategy at this point, but that is so risky to do. I know we're on a long run as Patrick Moose is also kind of going to come down to pit. He got really sideways. I just think the risk of a yellow is so huge. It's a tough decision to make when Venable and Senesac are banging doors. Now Shane Wolf's going to come down, so it seems like everyone's going to try this 2-stop strategy, and we'll see how that works out. The fall off is big, 24.5 for Matheson. He's about a 1.5 seconds off that, but I don't know if it's going to be faster. Falls off a pit lane.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. About 40 minutes remaining in this race, 92 to go next time by, and it's been going. We haven't had a single yellow flag just yet. Have a look at the race analysis here. 48 green flag laps. That's all of them so far. 2 leaders, 6 lead changes amongst them. That's how good the battles were up front. Quickest truck, Travis Bettner, your current race leader.
Yeah, it seems like he might be committing to, God, he got close to that wall. He might be committing to a 1-stop here. I still think personally it's the faster strategy, but we'll just have to see if I have to eat my words or not. As Beckner's now, he's got a 1.1 second lead over Seth Knoll. Jake Nichols is 3 seconds back. Jake Matheson even further than that, as Sebastian Marin still looking for what is now the 5th position.
And Marin has just been so impressive. I mean, making up that issue in qualifying, he didn't get a lap in, scraped the fence, started in 32nd place. I know some trucks have pit now, but got powers around the outside of the 52, and Matheson peels off for pit road.
If you were going to 2-stop it, around the 45 to 50 range is where you would pit, so this is pretty much on schedule for those drivers who have come down.
I think you're right, though. I think the risk of a yellow is pretty high at this stage of the race. I'd be a little wary of getting trapped a couple of laps down. That was one of the Hendry County trucks going for a slide there at the exit of turn 2.
See someone else pitting, I think, at Springer. Yes, it is. So he pits from 6th. A little later than the window, but still not really going to lose much time doing it as far as the drivers he's battling on that strategy.
And watching Venable still, that 95 truck was the one that worried me the most with how much he was slipping and sliding around course. There's Pacey Wygen. He's a driver that is 10 back from the cut line of the playoff hopes. So 15th isn't going to cut it. He needs to move forward in that 00 to get the job done.
Yeah, Springer's in the same situation, but he's been running top 10 so far tonight. Garrett Grant hasn't been running well. Edward Shear, his drive-through is going to kill him without a caution. Miller, kind of the same situation, not running well enough at this point. So it's kind of almost looking like we saw on Monday night. That cut line really expanded because the drivers above the cut line went and finished well. That was tight. The guys last night above the cut line finished well. The guys below the cut line really didn't. So we kind of seen something like that tonight. This is how much these guys are struggling for air grip. You can't even make a simple move down to the bottom line without sliding.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You just get up off the straightaway. You think, well, you're going straight, but you have that banking that you're already leaning on. So it's tough to get the truck to accelerate nicely off the corner. Remember, this is your old-fashioned stick axle suspension, no independent rears here. So it's bouncy, it's violent, and it's wild on a circuit like this. As Schaefer to the bottom, Venable has just been a wild man up there on the top of the racetrack as of late.
Yeah, really, if they repave this track, and the sim not so much, bumps everywhere around this racetrack, so you're not going to have many rear grip over those, as a lot of drivers have figured out at this point, as Venable's battling for this position. Not too far behind is Jake Matheson on fresh tires, just ripping around the outside of any truck he can find at this point. That's actually Anna Sogak, the 98's battling for position. He's going to get that position for the time being really tight off the corner. Meanwhile, through all that, the lead battle, what seems to be the lead battle for the one-stop strategy, is getting closer, as that's a mess back there. But Seth Knoll has chased down Travis Beckner.
Yes, Knoll in the blue truck, Travis Beckner in the red, white, and black one. Here comes that Hall on the bottom, and he's unlapping himself after putting those fresh tires on. 3 wide into turn 1.
Man. 3 wide in turn 1. That pack we cut away from, I'm worried about. There's trucks everywhere in that pack out of turn number 4 is the ones trying to look for the race lead in between lap traffic. This pack is worrying.
Look at the 38 through the middle. He wants to get back on the lead lap, and he is not waiting around. I mean, it's game on. This race could go green to the end, so you have to take chances. You can't afford to sit behind the race leader the whole time.
You can't afford to sit behind the driver on your own strategy as well. I think Moose was faster long run than the 0-3, but he's got to chase him back down at this point.
And the 1/10 of a second differential there has say that it's settled because the one back to the bottom again. So when do you pit? 10, 12 laps?
Oh man, 67 sliding. Look at this. I mean, this pack out of 2. I don't like this at all. I remember seeing this the last time the Pro Series came here. It was all over the place. Hearn just had a big slide. I don't think you pit until the fuel's dry personally. I don't want to get caught by yellow. I think you run this out.
I think you have to. And Seth Knoll, he might feel the pressure that there could be a yellow brewing. Do you want the lead now or do you want it later?
You might need to get it now. Track position's important. If you can get first on pit entry, that's important. So you're going to go for the lead now, but I don't think you can pit right now, as these two have history, so I'm interested to see how they race each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of drivers that have history with Travis Beckner, but he's just one of those old-fashioned drivers that will just race you the way that you race him. But the second you lean on his fender, he will give it back in spades. He's in the wall in turns 3 and 4.
It's so tough. I'm trying to focus on his battle for the lead. Knoll has the run, but out of the corner. Beckner's still got an incredible launch off of turn number 4. I'm looking at this battle. I'm looking at, it seems like 20 trucks are in turns 3 and 4 right now, but Knoll is trying to get on the 28's bumper, get him loosened up just a little bit.
Into turn 3 now. Beckner, Knoll. Marin's 2.3 seconds back, but he's closing. He was 0.2 quicker than the leaders last time by while all this is going on.
It is insane, the speed of that 32 truck. He started at the very back, and he's within 3 seconds on this one-stop strategy. It's wild.
Knoll closing in on Beckner again. The duel for the lead here. 8 laps to halfway next time by, and I think we've seen the two juggernauts show up at the front of the field. Maybe the third one is closing quickly. Marin, Nichols, Weissar. Look at the top 5 of this and the drivers that have shown up to battle here tonight in Rockingham. This place is a blast. And for those that are battling in the playoffs, you go to Talladega next week. If you leave that as your final wild card, your only opportunity to get in, you have to find performance at Talladega, you're in trouble because you can't control your own destiny there.
No, definitely not. You do not want to have to leave it up to chance at a super speedway. Justin Sogak just came in. He might be the first one on the one stop to come in, as this battle for the lead rages on. Marin's within 2.2 seconds now at this point. You can see him in the background closing in as Jake Matheson's going to be the next driver to try to unlap himself at this point, which that would be music to Jeremy Brown's ears because he'd be the lucky dog if the 32 or if the 52 could get that lap back, but Matheson's going to be boxed in. Beckner tapped the wall, but he's going to get a nice push from the 52 as this battle's still crazy as well. There's battles everywhere on this track. Jeremy Miller, Pacey Wygen, Gary Waterworth in the mix as well.
That Pacey Wygen, one of those drivers we mentioned below that cut line, so is Jeremy Miller, 10 back, 12 back respectively. They're running 14th and 15th. They need to have decent nights tonight or they're going into Talladega needing to get a result at the most wild card track on the calendar. And Knoll and Beckner, now deep in lap traffic, have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, this is mostly, some of this traffic is on fresher tires, but they are catching some slower drivers. Seidenfeld and Tyler Hallman, 23rd and 24th. They have not pit yet, but they're not too far away from being lapped, and they have no incentive to let these guys by with how early it is.
Look at this mess. 3 wide.
Oh, gosh.
The 0-3's in the middle. Remember, he can't wait. Neither can Patrick Moose. Squeeze onto the front straightaway.
Gosh, that is a gutsy move. Miller almost pinched him down, but Moose got through. This is the two-stop battle. Miller's sliding up the track right now, but that's the two-stop battle. He's trying to keep pace with John Hall. He's doing a good job through traffic, but John Hall is just able to do enough to keep that advantage.
That was a little bit of a wild moment, but I think they've cleared that chaos. And, well, I say that, and we've got cars darting left and right. John Hall back up to 12th place. He's already made his pit stop. And as we say that, Knoll takes the lead away, slides up on Beckner. Tight for the lead out of turn 4.
I don't think Beckner's going to appreciate that. That was a slide job, and the one was not clear, and he has right rear damage from that contact.
All right, that got a little spicy, and there's Balliet and Reese Schaefer. This is for 7th place. Battles 0.2 of a second between them, and they're closing back down and out. Beckner, I said earlier, you lean a fender on that number 28, he will give it back to you, and you'll save it a little later in the race when the time is a bit more opportune.
In the words of Denny Hamlin, as David Weishart, Devin Johnson, a few others pit, I think Hearn pit. Words of Denny Hamlin, you throw a rock, I will throw a concrete block back at you, so I would be aware of that if I was Seth Knoll.
Time to your shoes and drop you in the lake.
Here comes Knoll. Immediately going to pit. And this is pretty much halfway. If you're going to one-stop, this is when to do it.
Into the pit lane now. And trundling along at 41 miles an hour, 42, just trying to stay under that pit speed limit. It's a slow roll, but right at the halfway point of the race. So he's splitting this into 2 equal halves. Same tires at the end of the race that he just had, and he was quick. Here comes Beckner now. He has to respond to the undercut.
Yeah, he pretty much had to, no choice otherwise. Sebastian Marin's going to take this a little bit longer, maybe try to get an advantage on his tires. That 32 is so good through traffic, I don't really hate this call by getting fresher tires for the end of the race.
That 32 truck, I like the strategy that he might be playing. If he stays out a few more laps, has some fresher tires, he was already driving through the field. Could he get a 6th win just by overcutting here?
I think it's possible. Sean Peachin spun on pit lane, but that will not be a yellow. I think it's very possible. With the amount of pace this 32 truck has, I like the call of not trying to undercut for track position on a one-stop and just trying to get fresh tires to the end. He might be the only one that can do an overcut tonight and make it work. I think it's the right call for him.
I think so too. And again, he can afford to take some risks too. See some smoke out of turn 4. There's been some dramas, I think, getting onto pit lane, but he can afford to make a mistake, make the wrong call. He's got 5 wins in the bucket already. Matheson on the bottom now, the 23 up on the high side. Vincent Cortez, one of those Henry County trucks.
This is just about ready to cycle everything out. Sebastian Marin, Jake Nichols are some of the last 2 to pit. I believe Vincent Cortez, Gary Waterworth, a few others in the top 10 still have to pit. John Hall, Patrick Moose, that's the 2-stop battle right now, and Moose has not gotten close to him quite yet. Jake Matheson's even further back.
Yeah, have a look on the left-hand side of the screen. Vincent Cortez is going to peel off, but those that have a 0 next to their name, those are the pit stops that they have not done, 1 or 2 in some instances. I think actually only 1 stop has been made by everybody tonight. Usually we've got an early yellow and someone will peel on down, but it's about, I'd say 3/4 of the field has made their only pit stop for this race, assuming that we go green to the end.
I'm still concerned about this 2-stop. They did gain a lot of time back on that battle for the lead, but having to do this extra pit stop, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, if they have enough tire life and if they can get through traffic fast enough to have a battle for the win with drivers like Seth Knoll. Here comes Lakatos to pit lane, so I'm interested to see how this kind of shapes up for those top three. Mason Kane's also on that strategy, I believe. They do have a decent gap over the drivers one stopping. Jake Nichols just came in to pit. We'll see how this works.
Yeah, 31 of Mason Kane, the 20 of Ryan Swan. That's 9th and 10th that they're battling for right now. And then Casey Wygen. What about this 00 truck? Just below that cut line, how much of a risk does he have to make some progress on his assault towards that playoff title?
I think if he wants to take a risk to get further to the front on strategy, he would have either 2-stopped or he's going to have to wait for a yellow and take like 2 tires or something. He's going to need to get those valuable points somewhere, and I don't know if a 1-stop, the majority of people are doing a 1-stop strategy. I'm not sure if this is the way to do it, but it's really all about chasing the 50. Lakatos is the closest guy to him on points that he can pass, as I think he's going to be at least maybe ahead of him for this point. The 50 is not
the 95, Venable, sideways on Thunder Alley. He gathers it up, but he has just been absolutely on the limit. Hamel, he's in the fence in turn 3. He was all the way up in the wall in the middle of 2 and just never gathered it back up.
Look at that slide. That is incredible. You know, I'm Smasher Mayor and I wouldn't pit, but it looks like he is coming down. That is an incredible save. And if I'm Venable, I think I got to pit. Those tires are not going to last much longer. They're almost 3 wide out of turn number 2 as the 32 comes on the pit lane. John Hall finally has the lead back again as drivers are bouncing off each other at this point as they're 3 wide in turn 3.
Reese Schaefer is not going to be denied some track position right now because he was one of those drivers that pit earlier. No time to waste sitting behind trucks that have not.
I saw Miller in the middle 3 wide. He had contact with the 00. The 83 I might have had a touch with someone there, and the 69's in the middle. Daniel Day's making a move. There's not a lot of room on this track, but they're making it pretty wide, about as wide as I've ever seen Rockingham right now.
It's been a fun night, hasn't it? Lap 80 of 140, 60 to go next time by. John Hall retakes the lead. I assume he's done pitting. He was one of the first to do it, but that's such a long way to go. He could go for another stop.
I don't think he can make it personally, but I guess we'll just have to find out if he can or not. We're looking at that battle. This is the battle between what I think are 2-stop drivers, John Hall, Patrick Moose, and further back still, Seth Knoll and Travis Beckner are right on top of each other. Right now, I think on track, they're battling for the 11th position. Beckner's actually looking to be inside of Knoll as John Hall continues to lead.
The 1 Seth Knoll middle 3 wide here, charging
He's in a Hendry County sandwich right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of Hendry. Look at 1, 2, 3, seeing triple.
Not what you want to see if you're battling someone for the lead on the strategy, but Wygen kind of chopped Beckner, and maybe that helps the 1 a little bit. Wygen's finally going to come down the pit lane. We're still waiting on some drivers at this point.
Beckner down as low as 21st on the strategy, gets right up on the tailpipes of his teammate there, pops to the inside. Devin Johnson.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, just pick your way through. It's like a haunted hayride trying to find out what scaries lie ahead here. Down into the wall. This is so dicey to the inside of the 21. Man, look at him go. Look at the focus on his face.
Grant had a big slide, had to drop out of that, but Beckner did get a little help. I don't think Cortez meant to hold up Knoll, but Knoll just picked the wrong line. Beckner used everyone in that pack as a pick, and he got track position over the 1 because of that.
Oh, squeeze out of turn 2 there with the Hendry County 23. I think that's Cortez. Ooh, that was exciting for a minute. Patrick Moose chasing down John Hall. This is the battle for the lead now. 0-3 has cycled through. It's 0.3 of a second between these two, and Moose is right up against the outside lane, kind of running the Larson line, so to speak, in the wall.
Yeah, too much of the wall that time. That wasn't a scrape. That was a pretty solid hit, so he's going to lose a lot more time because of it. And Jake Matheson's on this strategy as well, but he really hasn't closed in as much as I thought he could. He's still kind of hovering around 5 seconds back. I think this 38 is a little better long run, but when you're doing a 2-stop strategy in a race that's not really that long, you don't really give yourself a chance to have that long run pace shine, and that could end up biting the 38 at this point, as I think Mason Kane's also on this strategy, and he's even further back than the other drivers around him. He's starting to lose spots here.
Yeah, it's getting, I think the difference is in the tire strategy here. If we look at the stint laps here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice 39 laps, 39 35, 33, and then 14 for Beckner. That is enough of a difference that I could see wrecks happening just from major differences in pace here as everyone kind of filters out. And right now it's a big mess. Everyone's kind of mixed together, and they will filter out. But see, like Kane gets in the wall there, and everyone has to dodge him.
Well, I think that pack kind of got split up by the 28 and the 1 kind of barreling through them. That kind of helped Sebastian Marin. He has fresher tires. He's going to pass these guys with really no further issue. He might even be closer to them now than he was when Beckner and Knoll pit. He's closing in pretty fast, and he has fresher tires.
Beckner on Ricky Springer here for position. 2 other drivers that have had their fair share of issues in the past.
Springer also, I think, 2 stopping, so he's still got 1 more to go, so no real reason to battle anyone here. Now, even if he wanted to battle them, I don't think he can. Just doesn't have the tire life for it. Knoll goes by. Cortez, a lap down, is going to go by. He's trying to get in position maybe for the lucky dog right now. It's actually Jake Nichols in position for that, but he's about to try to pass the 0-3 of John Hall for that. 13 lead lap trucks, excuse me, soon to be 14.
Well, Patrick Moose, he had a run going on John Hall, but he's kind of gotten trapped here in traffic. And I don't know that he's got the pace now to run John Hall down. It looked like he had it for a while. He's got 1 lap fresher tires, but it's not really doing him a lot of good right now.
This is one of the tracks where lap traffic plays as big a factor as anywhere else, because there's really nowhere, there's everywhere to go but nowhere to go, because the fast line's on the top. If you want to make a pass, you probably got to go to the bottom of the drive. You're battling for the lead, but you're going to have trucks on the bottom there as well. It's weird because you got everywhere in the world to get off the track, but sometimes the lap traffic, they just can't figure out how to get out of the way in time.
Well,
it cause issues.
Greg Kramer calls that not being able to find the disappear button. You can't just hit 88 miles an hour and disappear into the stratosphere, right? You've got to pick your way around the course. Sometimes you're comfortable on the bottom, sometimes you're on the top. But when the track is so multi-groove, you don't really know where to go to get out of the way.
I think I was mentioning Sebastian Marin was in a good spot. I think he got I don't know what happened, but he's a lap down even to the 1, so I'm not sure if he got a penalty or what, but he's a lap down to the 1 truck and pretty much everyone else, so might have had a penalty somewhere.
Playing whack-a-mole here with trying to find the battles on the racetrack to keep an eye on, but the lead one has fizzled for now. Sebastian Marin in that 32, just 12 laps on these tires, a 34 lap advantage over the leaders, but he is more than a lap down. He's like the 5th or 6th truck a lap down.
Yeah, that's a tough time to come. That's tough to come back from when you have so many drivers in front of you in line to receive that lucky dog or even the wave around. And if one person stays out in front of you, if you were to get a yellow, it's pretty much over at that point anyways. As Seifert had a moment out of turn number 2, he's just going to bring it to the apron, get out of the way as Daniel Day, Justin Sogak, Ryan Swan all battling in the turn number 3.
Half a second between the race leaders and 45 laps to go or so next time by. Technical Shane, whoa, little slip and slide on the back straightaway. Is that the 31 scrambling for grip? And big slide.
Swan.
He gathered it up. That was a big one.
Mason Kane, and he's pitting out of nowhere. That was really tight to get the pit lane. It's going to be followed by Daniel Day. Here comes John Hall, so a definite 2-stop strategy for the driver of the 03. I looked back at the 32's pit stop. I don't think he got a penalty. He just lost a lot of time, lost a lap on pit lane. Now Matheson's in as well. Here comes Ricky Springer, also in. I just don't trust that pack out of turn number 4. 12th on back.
Yeah, it's getting pretty. This is, I mean, you've got playoff contenders here, or hopeful playoff contenders in this too, of drivers like Pacey Wygant. They've got, some of them are on fresher tires than others, and that's what makes me a little nervous. As Patrick Moose peels off, that will turn the lead over to Travis Beckner, who should be done pitting.
He has opened up a gap to Seth Knoll, but we saw at the end of that long run, they'll kind of close back on him quickly and had to use muscle to get that pass done. I'm sure Beckner will defend even harsher if it came to that, but Knoll's giving him a big gap. It's 1.8 seconds, and it's even further back to Weishart in third, 8 seconds back.
So now, the first truck on this strategy, I would think, would be Hall, right?
I believe right now, yes.
So he's got to make up an entire lap's worth of time in 42 laps. I just don't see how that is going to make sense.
It's going to be tight. I mean, it's kind of different from Darlington because I think there's a lot more off-throttle time at Darlington, and this is just a tighter track, obviously, than Darlington. I don't know. He's got to gain. It's not just a lap. It's a lap in maybe like a quarter that he's going to have to gain here. And that tire advantage you would think is going to go away. Beckner is running 25.7s right now. John Hall last time by was about a second faster than that. And if he could stay a second faster throughout the entire run, that will be enough to get him there. But it's just all about how tires equalize if they do.
Eric Wineland is going to roll into his pit box for his final stop of the night, presuming we don't get any yellow flags. We have been caution-free so far. About to enter the final 40 laps, and Travis Beckner has his work cut out for him with lap traffic ahead.
John Hall just got by the one truck though, so yeah, this lap traffic is going to play a factor. Pretty much everyone in front of him is on the same strategy. I mean, you can tell the drivers were going to fly by him, or the drivers on the two-stop strategy, but those are drivers he's going to have to deal with. They won't lay down very easily for him, and these are top 15 trucks that are going to be going laps down. Cortez is pulled away. Sebastian Marin is pulled away, but drivers like Ware, Miller, Schaefer, and some other guys, those are not going to be easy passes if he gets to them, as Shane Wolf pulls off to pit.
Yeah, one of the last holdouts on that other strategy. So Travis Beckner's got a 2-second lead now, and the laps are going to click down quickly. 15 minutes or so until the checkered of this race. This is really going to be a short one without any yellow flags. And Seth Knoll is not making inroads either.
He's running pretty patiently on the bottom, might be trying to hard save and then charge out of late like he did in the previous run on tires, but you don't want to he can't give himself too much of a gap to make up. This might help a little bit. Wineland kind of pinched a 28 there a little bit, but you do not want to give yourself too much of a gap to make up too late in the race as well. He has to stay in range.
Hearn in the 67 behind Anna Sogak in the 88. Good run for the 67. Cameron Hearn has just been unlucky forever, it feels like. I mean, he's 41st in the standings. He's run how many races? This is 6th or 7th?
7th.
39th, 2nd, 40th, 14th, 42nd, 30th. And I know he's run better than that. So that's just the unlucky night that you get sometimes.
Really in all three series, it's been like that for a while for the 67. I believe he runs the 4 on Mondays. But, at least right now it's looking solid, but anything can happen, so it's not in the bag quite yet. But so far it's been a consistent climb for him at this point. There's been a number of drivers who have climbed outside of the top 20 or just barely 20th on back into the top 15 tonight. There's like Cortez, Marin, Miller, Valiette, and Hearn himself all started 20th or worse, but they've worked their way up.
And we've also heard that Cameron Hearn also finished the area finish at Yami this season with Garrett Grant, meaning he's finished in every single position possible in the course of his area career.
Pretty impressive, because I think he does have less starts than the Garrett Grant machine as well, so. Depends on what positions he got to complete that. I mean, it's impressive regardless. He got every position. I don't know what I'm talking about. Now look at this battle. That's Miller and Marin. That is for position. Marin just lost a lot of time on pit lane. Is trying to claw back into the top 10.
Yeah, so Marin is behind John Hall. That's a little dicey between those two. John Hall's got much fresher tires, so the 03 is in a better position than the 32. I thought Marin was in a position to potentially win this race. John Hall, though, I have to say, picking up 0.7 of a second a lap. He's got 18 seconds to make up. I still don't think the math works out in his favor, but this might be better than I thought.
It's going to be close. We have to see how he gets through everyone else, and if that evens out a little more. Because Wineland just got by the 30 of Miller, but it's going to be interesting at this point. I think Hall has the speed to make this work. He might be the only one with the speed to make this work. Patrick Moose is a little further behind, but just not keeping pace with John Hall this time around in traffic. It's kind of like Darlington all over again. That was Marin and Hall. That was Hall getting the bumper from Marin. It's not going to be Marin involved. It's probably going to be Beckner or Knoll involved.
There's Marin in the 32. Marin's still making progress because he does have slightly fresher tires than some of the trucks ahead of him, but I don't think it'll be race win pace tonight for him as Hall now moves into 7th place. He is now 15 seconds back. He is making ground pretty quick. And, you know, for him to pull that strategy, you'd think that he had done the math a little bit, so he's not doing this blind.
He's still a second faster than Beckner, and I said if he can stay a second faster, it's going to work out, and that's just exactly what it looks like. If he's going to be there in 15 laps if it keeps up at this pace with 30 to go. If it doesn't even out that much, he's going to be there with a decent amount of time to maneuver around the 28. Starting to believe a little bit.
And just, full second. It's almost like the difference is getting bigger. That doesn't happen a lot. Usually the tires will equalize out towards the end. But and honestly, no one's giving Travis Beckner a run for his money. It's just Travis by 2.6 seconds, and he has been in staunch command of this since he came out of the pit lane.
I saw the one had some right rear damage, but I refuse to imagine that it lost him that much time and that much speed to not be even within a second of the 28 at this point. If he was hard saving to try to charge at him, he's got to start going eventually. It just doesn't seem like he has it right now. Beckner's been really, really strong this run. He's going to have to deal with some traffic. Edward Shear is not exactly going to pull away from him here, even though he just got by to stay one lap down.
Jeremy Miller, driver on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs are concerned. And lets Matheson go. Matheson's on much fresher tires here. Patrick Moose, Brad Slaughter Jr. Moose is the second truck on that alternative strategy that John Hall is running.
Just has not been able to stay with the 0-3. He's now about maybe a second and a half behind him now, so it doesn't look like he's going to be able to contend for the race win on this strategy, but obviously still going to get a pretty decent finish out of it. At this point, he's already up to the 6th position.
Matheson and Reese Schaefer, with Matheson up on the high side there at the 52. John Hall is up to 4th place, 11.2 seconds, and there's still, what we got, 35 laps left in the 25 laps left in this race? It's possible.
25-1 that time by. It was about 0.8 of a second faster than Travis Beckner. I think the way we're seeing this gap come down, John Hall almost certainly wants this to stay green. Loses all that track position if he gets a yellow at any point here, as this time by Beckner in a 25.9 again. Hall that time by still 0.8 of a second faster. But look at the traffic he's going to have to get through.
That's what I was going to point out. He's got a lot of work to do in the next 25 laps, and they're 2-3 wide ahead of him now. Not where you want to be if you're on the attack here. And 10 seconds is almost half a lap worth of time. Let's do this. So where is Beckner? He's going to be
ahead of that.
He's already ahead of that. There he is into turn 3. And John Hall, when you visualize this, it seems a lot harder, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure that's not how John Hall's. I'm sure that's not how he's visualizing it. Is he's actually going to get 3rd right now from Jake Nichols. Obviously, Nichols can't even battle that. Someone way on the apron. That's Daniel Day. That's actually a battle for position for 20th. Day went to the apron trying to pass Pacey Wygant. Not the day the 0-0 needed at this point. Probably going to be close to must-win, do-or-die territory in 2 weeks' time. But sometimes you just don't have the speed. And he hasn't done anything wrong, but just hasn't been. He does have right rear damage. Hasn't done anything wrong from what we've seen, but just doesn't have pace right now.
Closing on 20 laps to go. Travis Beckner has been in command for 58 of them. He would need to lead over half this race to win it.
Be a big jolt to get those bonus points heading towards the playoffs. He's only seeded about 8th right now. If he moves up in the standings plus that victory, it's going to look a lot different for his playoff chances if he's seeded somewhere in that top 5. Still a long way to go. Might get ahead of ourselves.
Jake Nichols in the 73. Patrick Moose ahead of him, but he will be long gone. Moose is on the charge now with 20 laps, fresher tires.
Beckner's in even heavier traffic at this point. He's battling Ricky Springer and Danny Ware. It's not going to help the 28's case at all if he can't get by these drivers, as he ran a 26.1 last time by. John Hall was only about 0.7 of a second faster, though.
Lap times on the left-hand side of the screen just to keep an eye on things at the front. Beckner, what's he got? 26.185. 187 rather. John Hall is going to be at a 25. If it's another 0.4, yes, it is 403. The difference is shrinking as far as their lap time difference, but so is that gap down to 6.8.
Beckner's not getting anything from Danny Ware. Ware is not letting him go easily, so Beckner's going to get a little held up here. That time it was a 26.3, and John Hall was another 0.9 of a second taken out of that lead.
At the rate he's going to get there, but we all know passing is one thing. Catching is catching is one thing, passing is another. My brain is on a spiral tonight, I'll tell you that.
Man, if he knew what Danny Ware was doing for him in his battle right now, he is holding up the 28 big time. And we were talking about that finish of Darlington. Hall put the bumper, Marin got the bumper, put him to Hall. You'd think John Hall wants to do something like that to someone else, but would he really do it to Travis Beckner? I personally don't think so, as Beckner's actually going to squeeze the 98 in the wall a little bit, let you know, hey, I'm trying to race for the win. I've got to go. He's finally going to get by him, but the gap's already 5 seconds with 17 laps left.
Yeah, I'm starting to see just the expression on his face. You see the head shaking there. He's in focus. He really didn't have time to spend with Danny Ware in the 98. Going back to Brad Slaughter here in the 81, losing a spot to Sebastian Marin on old tires, but slightly less old than what Slaughter's got on his truck.
Still battles all around this track. Battle for 24th is pretty hot right now. Ryan Swan, James Shane Wolf, who's really not had the best of days, and Price Senesax in that battle as well. Sebastian Marin just trying to recover from a poor pit cycle, and that just shows how fast he is. Not really the best pit cycle, lost about a lap doing it. He's still in the top 10. But crucially, currently losing points to Jake Nichols in the regular season title fight.
Travis Beckner leads by under 3 seconds over Seth Knoll, but that's not the truck he's worried about. It is John Hall in this pink and white 03 Ford.
John Hall starting to struggle more. It was only 0.4 of a second the difference that time. And that is probably enough to get there, but the more he loses, the tighter it gets. As Mason Kane, I believe he and him are teammates. I'm not sure if the 31's going to be able to let him by because he has his own battles to get through.
Oh, look out. Is he to split the difference? Yes, he will. Can't wait around. He's got to go.
Garrett Grant not going to give him clear lane. I'm not sure if Seth Knoll will either. That time by, it was still 0.5 seconds even through all that traffic. As this is now for the runner-up position. Knoll will see if he even has anything for him. He does not. So just one more truck to get by, and then it's only Ware, Jeremy Brown in between them.
12 laps to go. This would be the heroic drive of the year if he could manage this. And it's not impossible, but it is getting harder. That time by was only 0.3 of a difference.
Clean air would be huge if he could get it, but now Beckner's in clean air, and 03 is not really going to be in clean air because he's going to have to contend with some slower traffic. That time by was 25, really a 25.8, so about another 0.4 of a second. Jeremy Brown's going to get out of his way.
And 10 laps to go in 2.5 seconds. Connor, this is going to be fun. We did not think this was possible. The math looked so unrealistic half an hour ago.
Looking a lot better right now, but he's got another Hendry County. He's got 2 Hendry County Motorsports Park trucks to get through that are, I believe, teammates to the 28. Got Daniel Day right in front of him. Actually, no, just the one. But you got Vincent Cortez in front of Beckner, not too far ahead of him. And Daniel Day's not budging.
Well, he might have to make a decision here. Travis Beckner And he could really use a win, doesn't have one yet this season in this series. It's just 2 seconds now, the differential between himself and John Hall. The tire difference is almost 30 laps.
I think Daniel Day might dictate this race because he's not going to let John Hall by now, because Beckner had issues with the 98, but now the 03, as I say that, he did let John Hall by, so now it's just the 98 in between Beckner and Hall, and Beckner's closing in on a battle for position between Cortez and Balliet.
It's getting harder and harder, though. It's still half a second a lap. Still possible. Actually likely even, but it just looks visually so far. But John has raced over a lap worth of distance to get here.
It'll look a lot closer, a lot more realistic in a few laps. 26.3 for the 28, and it was a 9 for the 03.
1.3. I did not have this battle on the bingo card, at least not this way. I thought for sure the one-stopper would be the way to go here. What a risk.
I know. If one yellow killed him, and I think at this point it doesn't kill him, but he probably doesn't want it. And as this battle rages on, that cut line battle is going to be interesting because Case Lakatos was in. He's back in 27th position, so anyone who's finishing ahead of him is going to be in a pretty solid spot. The 30s up there, the 51s had a decent night as well, so those drivers, it might be interesting. Those two might be able to jump in going into Talladega.
John Hall closing in on his prey. He has got that 28 locked in the crosshairs. He's like a heat-seeking missile. Fox 2 out of turn 2. Here he comes. 5 laps to go, Connor, and the 7 pulled out of the way for him.
I don't know if he meant to because he got so sideways, but that's not what Beckner wanted to see. Now nothing in between these two.
4 laps to go.
I'm just interested how Vincent Cortez plays this because he's not helping Beckner at all by staying in front of him at this point. I think if Beckner, Hall's going to be there maybe into turn number 1, I think he has to jump up the racetrack, take that line away. And if they battle a little bit too much, Patrick Moose is not too far behind.
Yeah, I think Patrick Moose is kind of in the catbird seat here. 3 laps left, and it's going to be so hard for Travis to fight this off. Once they get alongside, Travis is going to be in the wall. Here comes John Hall now for the race lead to the bottom of the track in the Thunder Valley here on the back straightaway.
That he cannot afford to make that mistake. It gave John Hall a big lunge. Here goes a big lunge into turn number 3 for the race lead and the race win. That wasn't even a challenge, but Beckner's going to try the crossover.
This is it. He's got to get this pass back. If he doesn't complete it, it's game over. 2 laps to go here for Travis Beckner in the 28. Throws it down to the bottom. Huge slider up in front of John Hall, who's going to cross him back under.
Unbelievable attempt, but Hall has enough grip almost to clear him before the entrance to turn number 3. This is everything the 28 has at this point. Patrick Moose is right there.
Here they come, white flag lap. Here comes Patrick Moose to the bottom. He wants second, and it's all slipping away from Travis Beckner. He had led over half this race, but it might not be enough. Beckner bounces off the wall. He's going to have to pull something similar to the Hail Melon, but he's in the fence and no gain. John Hall has done the impossible. Drove from over a lap down in the last 44 laps of this race. John Hall wins the 2nd race of the season for him, and checkered flag at the Rock for the 03.
That is maybe the drive of the season. Venable's going to crash out of turn number 4. He's not going to lose spots from it, but that's one of the drives of the season. That rivals Marin's at Darlington. To get through all that traffic in such a short amount of time is absolutely wild.
And you have to give him credit for that. The gutsiness of that call, it doesn't work. You see Travis give him a little congratulatory bump there. He knows it's a classic battle. I mean, you can't get those every time. Caution-free race at Rockingham. Who would have thunk it?
I didn't.
Wow.
We know he's a title contender. He just hasn't had the wins this season, really because of a 32 clogging them up, but that one should give him some confidence.
I'll say. Checkered flag there for John Hall, and look at the Fords in the top 10. 3 of them this time. They showed up today. John Hall with that excellent drive pulls up into the top spot over Patrick Moose and Travis Beckner. Travis gave it his all there. He really laid it out on the line, just not quite enough.
Yeah, Patrick Moose came very, very close. If Travis Beckner could have held up Hall a little bit longer, Patrick Moose could have gotten a good spot. It only ends up being a 3.5 difference as the 2-stop ends up prevailing, surprising to all of us. Beckner, Knoll, Matheson. Matheson was also on the 2-stop, got into the top 5. Jake Nichols extends that lead maybe a little bit over Sebastian Marin for the regular season title. Reese Schaefer, David Weishart, and then Ricky Springer, who came into tonight outside that cut line, a very important top 10.
Yeah, looking down the rest of the order here, and Brad Slaughter Jr. just outside the top 10 there. We saw him fighting for his life a couple times. Cameron Hearn grabs a 12th. I think he'll take that. Miller, 14th. I guess that's an unspectacular night, but we'll have to find a little more going into Talladega. Daniel Day, Eric Wineland, Joshua Balliet, Ware, and Kane, the rest of the top 20, Connor.
And then James Shanewoolf started up front, couldn't maintain it, unfortunately. Grant Wygant, not the night he needed. He'll probably need to win in 2 weeks. Ryan Swan, Senesac, Edward Shearer will need to win in 2 weeks. 27th after a drive-through. He might be all right with that, just staying a lap down. He never lost another lap. But the big loser tonight, I think, is Casey Lakatos. Just did not have speed. He came into tonight 10 points above the cut line, but finishes all the way back in 28th position. So he is going to have some work to do in 2 weeks' time. Hallman and Brown complete the top 30.
Yeah, there's a look at the drivers that would have liked to have a better night. Lucas Strayer, Chris Seidenfeiden just kind of dipped off. Sean Peach and Waterworth and Devin Johnson down a couple of laps. Let's talk to your top 3. First of all, Travis Beckner. Man, Travis, tonight it just slipped away in the closing moments. We were rooting for you there. We didn't think that the strategy that John had was going to play out and work in his favor, but somehow, some way, he did it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping somebody would hold John up a little bit more there. I'm happy for John and Pat. Even though behind the scenes they're my teammate, I wish I would have still won. But congrats to the Miller Racing guys on getting the 1 too. Yeah, just was hoping his strategy would not work as well as it did. It almost didn't. Needed like 2 less laps and I would have won. But you know, I'll still take a top 3. It helps me out a lot in points.
Well, Travis, tonight was a fun night to watch. It was a great battle to watch between you, John, and Patrick. Hard work there, caution-free, but congratulations on a job well done. Solid top 5 result.
Yeah, thank you. Before I go, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Hendry County Motorsports Park. I had the first race of the new half of the season this past weekend. That was a lot of fun. My arms and legs are still killing me from it, but yep. And Elite Entertainment. Ken Kenny, Central Mobile Homes, Sheds and Trailers. Y'all taking the time out of your day to come broadcast this. Everybody over at Nexus Esports. The guys at Miller Racing are pretty cool. So I guess I'll thank them. Low Dollar Racing and Elite Esports. So, and everybody here at Area and everybody watching tonight.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
Patrick Moose comes home in 2nd place, and man, what a drive, what a night. Started 6th, all the strategy had you down as low as 30th, but 43 laps to the end, chasing John Hall through the field. I just needed a little bit more to catch him. What more did you need to catch that 0-3 and steal one from him?
Yeah, John's always been fast here. I just trying to get through traffic, trying to keep up with him. I just ran my tires off. Just needed a little more at the end and needed them to fight a little bit harder on that last lap, but I'll take 2nd with how the season has gone, so.
Yeah, I mean, this race, you know, the strategies, we saw the 2-stop really play out and work for a couple of drivers, really just you and John for the most part in the top 10, maybe Jake Matheson too. What was the math process? When did you decide that was the move to make? Was it before or during the race?
We were talking about before. John really convinced me during the race when we went green, and it paid off. The math worked out pretty good, so it was a little close at the end though, just trying to work our way through traffic, kind of held us up a little bit, but we got there.
Patrick Moose, 2nd place tonight at Rockingham. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Well, John Hall, you have done it again tonight. What a drive from over a lap down to catch the 28 in the closing laps. You had to battle them. You had to fight your way through traffic. I bet you were exhausted from all the hard work you had to do there.
Yeah, it was a little closer than I wanted it to be honest with you, Kyle. Traffic definitely played a bigger role in this. I thought it was going to be about the same as Darlington was. So I figured going into this race, I knew it was going to be close on fuel, whether 1 or 2 was going to be better, but I wanted to be on the attack this time versus trying to defend from the guys behind. But I just can't say thank you enough to the team, the Miller Racing guys, for letting me run this for Dawson here, and Travis for racing me clean there at the end. He could have used me up a lot more than he did, and it was nice to have a clean race there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we asked Patrick Moose about the strategy call, and it seemed risky. I mean, if this race didn't go green, it really could have messed things up. So at what point did you really feel confident that your decision was the one that was going to pay off?
I felt like as soon as we got back on the lead lap, I saw how fast we were compared to the guys who were still out there. So I felt comfortable once we got back on the lead lap for that final time. And then I saw the pace difference between Travis and us, especially after they came out as well. The delta wasn't as big as what we had on the initial run, so I felt pretty good about it. I saw the lap times getting closer, but then he kind of picked it up there at the end, and I was like, oh boy, this is going to come right down to the last couple laps like Darlington. So I was glad to be on the attack this time.
John Hall wins at Rockingham. John, congratulations. Job well done.
Thank you very much. Just want to thank Celsius for being on the truck every week. Happy to get them another win this week. So, see you guys. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, John. All right, Connor, what a race. Green from flag to flag. One of the shortest truck races of the season. And, man, it was an exciting one for sure. Didn't have the calamity and wrecks. We were so close so many times, but John Hall pulled it off.
Yeah, we didn't have crashes, but I'm kind of mad that was such a short race in the end because that was such good racing. That raced better than I thought it would. I thought it'd be much tougher to make passes and have side-by-side action, but we really saw side-by-side action all night long, and couple that with the different pit strategy is kind of similar to what we saw at Darlington with 2 stops versus 1 stops. And once again, the extra stop paid off just like it did in Darlington. It got John Hall his second win of the season, excuse me. That kind of puts him closer to Marin and Nichols as far as playoff seeding goes. And a lot of things got shaken up near that cut line that are going to have to be settled at the 2.66 mile super speedway in Talladega, Alabama.
Talladega up next, the final race of the regular season. It is on next week. It'll be Finian and Connor and Hunter alongside you on Thursday for the next 3 weeks. I'll be back on Mondays and Tuesdays for the next few times out. Kyle Heyer alongside Connor Horn. Thanks for watching from The Rock tonight. We'll see you at Talladega next week.